Yoli is an Aztec word that means to live. The statement to live encompasses everything Yoli represents, starting with our products. Too many of today's beverages are coming from a denatured source, meaning that they're over-processed with heat and chemicals and preservatives, all to increase shelf life. At Yoli, we believe that if first educated and then given the option, people are going to opt for the least amount of processing, which is exactly how we've developed our products.
I've been around the health and wellness industry for almost 2 decades, and during this process, I've been somewhat what I'd call educated to the point of no return. I learned about chemicals, and I learned about preservatives, and I learned about toxic things such as sugar. And I will never forget being on an airplane traveling, and they were announcing all these different things that they were offering as a beverage. And as I sat there, I realized to myself, there's nothing I can drink. And I started to recognize this is a problem. In fact, I remember then walking into a convenience store looking for something to drink, and everything I looked at was loaded with toxic sugar, or it had synthetic sugars or artificial sweeteners that, after my research, is even worse. Yellow number 3, blue number 6, which I just don't believe that we were created to digest these types of ingredients. And then I saw preservatives and chemicals. And that's when we realized that we could produce a product and bring to the marketplace ingredients, a beverage that had all the good and none of the bad. And that's when Yoli was born.
One of the trends that Yoli focused on in the beginning was the trend of liquid nutrition, or getting all of our vitamins and minerals and antioxidants from functional beverages. We delved into the research on liquid nutrition, and this led us to start investigating some of the leading manufacturing and bottling facilities in the country. And I remember the day that Robbie Fender and I went to one of the leading facilities that bottled nutritional beverages, and we spoke with the plant manager. He took us on a tour. And we saw where the liquid would go up into the big boiling apparatus, and it would superheat the liquid and then come pouring down the pipes into the actual bottles. Those bottles would go down an assembly line, they put the caps on, and then they dip the bottles on their side so all that boiling hot liquid could go up and hit the top and the cap and the neck of the bottle so it could sterilize the entire bottle. Then would pop back up on its top, they'd super cool it, and then ship it off to the holding facility. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, I've heard stories about how pasteurization can damage, nutrition and food and damage the vitamins, but it never really was driven home until I saw the process. And so I started worrying about that during the day. And then we went down into a conference room, and we had the leading product manufacturer, formulator woman come in, and she started talking to us about our specific formula. And we brought her this formula that we were looking at, and she said, well, hate to say this, but all those enzymes and probiotics that you're talking about, they're all going to be dead. And then she said, you know, these vitamins here, these will be dead, these will be compromised somewhat, these will probably make it, minerals are okay. And we started looking at each other and saying, you know, I didn't sign up for this. I don't see how we could possibly take this concept of a nutritional supplement, a beverage, a functional beverage, and share amazing things about this formula when we know exactly how it was processed. And so we were very discouraged walking out of there, and we kind of went back to the drawing board. But you know, it was in those moments of doubt and discouragement, you know, that's when the really true great ideas are born, I think. And that's when the real inspiration for the Yoli products hit us. And it was through that process that the philosophy of the Yoli product and the functional beverage was born. And we followed through on that idea, and that's what led to our first Yoli beverages.
When I was about 30 years old, I started realizing how important diet was to my health. I had stiff joints, low energy, and I thought, what is going on? I'm way too young to have these conditions. So I started studying and educating myself about diet. And fortunately for me, I learned about books like The Sugar Blues and began to look at the mass amounts of sugar and fructose I was consuming in foods, and especially in about every beverage I was drinking. And not just myself, but society as a whole. It drives me crazy when people talk about our healthcare system when what we actually have is a sick care system. Your health is up to you, and one of our missions at Yoli is to educate people about diet and offer healthy alternatives to the make it fast and cheap, keep them full, forget about the long-term damage attitude that so many companies have. Yoli offers innovative products that address major needs in the health of our society, but it starts by designing products for ourselves and our families that they will love and we can feel great about using every day.
2 years ago, right around the time we launched Yoli, my wife and I were blessed with the birth of our first son, Jaden. And several months before he was born, we had attended a childhood CPR class in which the instructor shared with us that 1 out of every 3 children born after the year 2000 is predicted to have type 2 diabetes. We were shocked, needless to say. So when we got home, we immediately did some research and quickly determined that actually it was true. And we became, of course, more intrigued and further discovered that one of the causes behind this is that the #1 highest source of calories in the United States, in the whole country, was high fructose corn syrup. It's literally in absolutely everything we consume, food, beverages, and almost unavoidable unless you're super, super careful. Then we came across a video on the internet by a professor of pediatrics at a UCSF. His name is Dr. Lustig, that really put it all together for us. This video is actually getting 50,000 views every single month, even though it's over 90 minutes long, just because it's so compelling. So compelling that even Dr. Mercola, who is one of the country's foremost experts on health and wellness, he's got one of the highest trafficked websites in the country, Alexa ranking of 450, he said this. He said, evidence is mounting that sugar is the primary factor causing not just obesity, but also chronic and lethal disease. He says there's really no doubt anymore that sugar is indeed toxic to your body, and it's only a matter of time before it will be commonly accepted as a causative factor of most cancer, in the same way as we accept that smoking and alcohol abuse are direct causes of lung cancer and cirrhosis of the liver. And then he goes on to further state that drastically reducing your sugar consumption is the quote-unquote miracle cure everyone is seeking. Wow. I mean, if that doesn't get your attention, I don't know what will. And I don't know one parent out there who would send their child to school, think about this, with a bottle of water and 10 to 30 to 40 packets of sugar like you'll find in a typical beverage. And then tell them before they drink it, Johnny, don't forget to dump the sugar in the water before drinking it because it's going to make it taste better. But when you stop to think about it, that's exactly what happens in the end. I mean, if we could just change that 1 out of 3 statistic, even a fraction of a decimal point, we knew that Yoli, with our beverages, could have a huge positive impact on millions of people and families across America.